In a world where the truth isn't always what it seems, four masters of real estate step forward to help put the E first in the word true. T-R-E-U. Treasure Coast Real Estate Unleashed. And now, here's the Fantastic Four of Real Estate with their host, Tom Platania.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting edition of Treasure Coast Real Estate Unleashed. I'm Tom Platania, your host. True Radio, T-R-E-U, radio.com. That's how you can find us. You go to our wonderful website, which I'm always updating it. And I did some great updates this weekend, changed some things around, and, kind of took our partners and spread them around a little bit. And I got some beautiful pictures from Kimberly Perrin. I put some pictures of her and Mary Beth up there. Of course, I put them at the top, because they're female partners that we have. The rest are all the guys. So like Carol, we always want to put Carol first and everything.
So we don't count for anything.
Exactly. Huh? You think about it, because this way it's we can only get worse. So we can't get any better. Once we've seen Carol on there, it's all downhill from there. But
you guys realize that? What can I say?
All right, wonderful. Well, Treasure Coast Real Estate Unleashed. If you'd like to give us a call here at the studio, 772-220-9788. Now, you can also, when you go to TrueRadio.com, one of the great things that we have there is the ability for you to watch and listen to the show on the computer. Now, you're driving in your car right now, so you don't want to do that. A lot of folks, like I was listening to the show on the way here this morning, and actually a great show before us. And the important thing is you go there, you can chat. Some folks, Mike, you've been in this business for a while, and some folks they don't like to call in. They're a little shy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very shy. They don't want to give their name. So the great thing is you can actually go to TrueRadio.com and actually chat with us live in the studio, and you can ask us questions. You can, if there's something that you want, today we're going to be talking about all kinds of crazy things. We're going to talk about the cold weather that's going on up north and how that might be affecting the. Hey, I know if I was living up north right now, and I was, you sit there and you watch the Weather Channel, -8, 12, 10, 80. Wait a minute.
Well, I talked to my daughter yesterday, and she said, "Mom, we need 9 inches more, and we break all records."
Wow. Is she wishing for 9 inches? I hope not.
Well, you know what? It's only March.
Yes.
And in Michigan,
everything is possible.
I've seen it snow in April. So,
wow.
9 inches is possible. They could possibly break all records. And the record that right now that they have to beat was set like in 1800 and something.
Oh, really?
Gosh. So I can't even imagine.
What do you guys, me personally, that stuff like that would really push me to want to consider moving someplace else.
No, I'm not going back.
Well, if I lived up there and you're record breaking.
Right.
What is that? What do you guys see that happening? Have you seen any changes? Have you had any more phone calls?
I think personally, what's happening right now with the folks up in the Northeast and in the cold weather, they're going through so much right now that I think that after the season starts to wind its way down, then is where and when we will get an influx of people thinking of relocating to Paradise.
I agree. Or at least buying a second home.
Right, because right now they're so busy trying to keep warm and cleaning the snow, even though it's in their mind as of now that, we should really get into another warm climate country. Because I recently had a couple out of Maryland, and I was working with this lady. Hardly, I never did speak to the husband, and for about a month, and every time we get on the phone, which was like every other day, she would say to me, "Farouk, you know what? I can't wait to come down to start looking at property." So she was sending me stuff as well.
Right.
And there was a particular property in Port St. Lucie West that she wanted. And I told her, I says, the way this market is at right now, and it was an REO, and I'm saying was because it is sold.
REO, what is that?
It's real estate owned by the bank.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so, however, she just the week before, she had planned the trip, the hotel, the car, and everything. And just 5 days out, coming down, there was a contract on the property. And, sometimes when you're counseling, I know most of us, we try to not pressure our buyers
you don't want
or
to look
seller.
like a used car salesman
Right,
or something
exactly,
like that. But,
exactly.
but then something like this happens where you...
Well, you have to kind of educate them and let them know. First of all, we don't have the inventory out there today. The bank deals that are out there are not the greatest deals in the world. I mean, people have got to get rid of that misconception that they are. And sometimes those bank deals, you have to do a lot of work in those houses. Now, you may be able to buy the same house for the same amount of money on an existing home that's occupied by an owner, but they think because it's a bank deal, it's a great deal, where the one that's occupied may not need to have anything to do.
Yeah.
So we have to, as agents, we
Correct,
have
sure,
to educate
dedicate
them.
Yeah, not
And
to
bank
do it in a
deals,
way.
Some of these bank deals are they're just crazy. I mean, I had one fall yesterday because controversy being between a lender and a bank on the percentages of money that can either be paid by commission or seller concessions. Now, we know seller concessions, usually first-time home buyers want seller concessions.
Now what
The
is
seller
that?
concessions will help them pay for their closing costs and their prepaids.
Okay.
And most of those people go in with 3.5% down because it's an FHA program.
Okay.
It allows first-time home buyers to go in. Great program. This particular bank will not allow you, one, to do FHA or VA, so it has to go conventional. With that being said, conventional then means a minimum of 5% down. The banks aren't liking to pay the concessions if they don't have to. And it's just, it's throwing another whole wrench out there
Yeah.
for first-time home buyers to
Making it
really to
difficult.
buy a house. And with the inventory down, it's really hard. And the prices are soaring.
Yeah.
So with the prices soaring, it's throwing a lot of them right out of the market.
And interest rate
So-
is also creeping up. But
Yeah.
coming back to the buyer we're speaking about, her husband was devastated. I spoke to him on the phone when I was up in New York, and he says, Farouk, but how could this property have been on the market for 90 days? And there was no activity. And as soon as we were ready, I said, that's what I was telling you guys. The market, we don't have enough listings.
It changes
every
every day.
day.
Yeah,
And my advice to you was at the time, let's put in an offer, and come down, and if the offer is accepted, we'll go ahead and you do the home inspection, and,
Right.
and then we'll move
you
forward.
get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
No, that's I'm learning that being new. That things are just
They
every
change
day.
they change every hour.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, every hour. I mean, I can be sending something to my clients and say, okay, we're going out tonight. Here's what's available. And by the time I go out, I run them again at night before we go, just to make sure they're
Yes,
still
yes,
active.
of course, of course.
Oh,
That
wow.
close.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't want to waste their time.
No.
I don't want to look like a fool. I need to know what my market's doing, so I go ahead and I check them all out. Now, sometimes you'll have agents that don't go in there and change the status of them right away, but at least I have done my work and knew that they were active at the time that we'd set
Right.
them up to
And
show.
you didn't have printed it off and having the time
Right.
and things like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's got to be crazy. Well, you're listening to Treasure Coast Real Estate Unleashed. Give us a call here at the studio, 772-220-9788. We're here with Carol Morgan and Farouk Ali. Now, our other half of the Fantastic Four, they're actually at an award ceremony right
They
now.
are, for
through
Jane
Keller Williams.
McAllister.
Yes,
Yeah,
sure.
Jane is
Jane
getting
has
a
been
big
nominated. Well, we
award.
don't know if she's going to get the
She's
award,
nominated.
but she was nominated.
Okay. Were there
So-
other? Now, is this strictly for Keller Williams, or is this
Yes, this
real
is
estate
Keller
agent?
Williams.
Okay.
This
All
is
right.
for Keller Williams. This is all based on special things that you have done. It's your life past, your history, what you give back to the community.
Okay.
These awards come out every year. So, yes, Jane has been nominated. We wish her the best today.
Oh, absolutely.
course.
And
yes.
Jane, unfortunately, could not go to the award ceremony.
Oh, she's not feeling
She
it?
had to take her husband into the hospital for some
Oh, my
tests today and
gosh.
had to be there. So Scott, on her behalf, is down there to
Awesome.
take her place. So
What
that's
a-
why Scott
I
is
hope
not here
everything
with
is
us
well
today.
with her husband.
Yeah, our hearts go out there. And yeah, and what a good son.
Yeah,
Oh,
he is a good boy.
He's a good boy.
I
like
told
it.
her, I said, you're really lucky, Jane.
Yeah.
That's
and he's very helpful too with our show.
He is.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not that tech savvy, I've had to.
And he's been helping
go,
you out.
Go to
Good.
Scott and for little things, and
Yeah.
and he's there. He makes himself available.
Yeah.
He does. He
yeah,
is.
he is.
And
He's
I think that's the good thing about the four of us, not only for us, And I think that the clientele that
Right.
we service, they've got a great opportunity to work with 4 dynamic realtors.
Well, it's because we're so all diversified.
Yeah. And the thing is that we know in our hearts that if it's something that we personally cannot address, we'll pass it on to the next.
Right.
You know, so nothing goes undone. We'll get it done.
Between the 4 of you,
Yeah,
there's
we'll get
pretty
it
much
done.
nothing. I don't think there's anything between the 4 of you that you folks do not know about any part of the real estate industry.
Well, I won't say nothing because you know what? It's an ever-changing business, and we're learning every day.
Right.
We learn every day just like everybody else does. Yes, we have a lot of knowledge behind us of present to past.
Right.
But things change on a daily basis. So we, as agents, have to be aware. Our education is phenomenal. Being a real estate agent, people don't understand that. We have a ton of real estate education we have
I'm
to
new,
do.
and I'm overwhelmed.
It's like, oh gosh, another class. Here we go.
Yeah, I still
But-
have to take my post licensing. I haven't taken that yet.
Oh, shame on you.
Yeah, which I should have done right away. But it's another 40. So I mean, you're hundreds of hours, and not counting the CEUs that you have to take.
Oh yeah, it's and it's not just the education that we have to have for law, for real estate law, for ethics, for everything else that you need just for your real estate license. But
I mean, you need to be ethical to be a real estate agent.
oh, you betcha, very important. But it's the systems changing. Mm-hmm. Our MLS is ever changing. That changes, so we have to educate on that. Different
the MLS for
programs.
folks, that's the multiple listing, and now just real quick before we go to break, tell us what a multiple listing. What does that do? How does that help an agent, or how would that help a homeowner?
You want to take that, Fruit? Go ahead.
Of course. Well, the good thing about a multiple listing service is that we among our realtors, we give each other the opportunity to sell each other and rent each other's properties.
Okay.
And based on that, and for an example, if let's say you're an independent broker,
Okay.
and you're a one-man show, and you happen to be a part of a multiple listing service. Well, guess what? If you in your office only have 5 listings, being a member of a multiple listing service would give you an opportunity to have over 8,000 listings available to you now. And then for your listings that you also have the opportunity to have all the realtor members of the MLS assist you in selling your property.
Yeah, so you could have
So
6,000
you've
or
just
7,000
outsourced
agents.
yourself.
Yeah.
So it's
So
really
your visibility becomes very broad.
Yeah.
I
so
mean,
it's a no-brainer, really, not
Yeah.
to be a part of a multiple listing service.
Yeah, and I think Port St. Lucie merged with the
Palm Beach,
Palm Beach,
which,
yeah.
which makes it even better.
yes, it does.
To be able to, because you have a lot of folks up here looking to move down south, a lot of folks from down south looking to move up here because
Correct.
of the commutes and whatnot, and that's huge. And it's and then what's strange to me, being new, is why there are communities out there that chose to stay
Independent.
and I see that as me personally, I see that as a negative to the homeowner, because I had a house up in Vero Beach just on a whim, but with the Indian River MLS up there, I mean, nobody can see it outside of
That's
that
right.
little area. Well,
They don't like to share.
what if I'm down here in Stewart and I decide I want to move up to Vero?
Right.
Well, I'm not going to be able to see that unless I try to find an agent.
A local agent.
Local agent.
They want to keep their businesses, they want to keep their home sales within their agents of their community, and that's fine. But that's not fair to your sellers.
No.
Because your sellers are not getting the visibility that they now think that they're getting. At least with being part of Palm Beach and the Port St. Lucie board, we have the availability of being totally regional throughout the state of Florida, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
It's awesome. We can access. I mean, I just did a comp for a condo over in Naples. I ended up referring it out, but I did comp it to make sure that the referral came out. That he was going to be
Right.
pricing it to what I thought it needed to be priced. They were friends, so I wanted the best value I could get them. But yeah, it just gives us that ability to do that, and it makes it so much nicer for us. I mean, I can't imagine just having only one.
Right.
But then again, they say, well, hey, join our board too.
Yeah.
You see, Tom,
And it's not free.
Tom, what Carol just did there is awesome, because she's looking out for her customer.
Right.
And the repeat business and the referral business that is going to come.
Yep.
And it makes her more confident to know when she refer the business out. It's not just calling, get another realtor and say, hey, you know what, I got a referral for you. I'll send you over the sheet. But, the groundwork she did, that was awesome.
And we're going to talk about that because I like that with you doing it, the CMA, competitive market analysis. And we're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our illustrious sponsors and partners. You're listening to Treasure Coast Real Estate Unleashed, True Radio, 772-220-9788. Give us a call.
Customer service and great rates. That's what you get with Atlantic Insurance Advisors. Remember, everyone's just one torrential downpour away from a flood. And with rates as low as $129 per year, why would you not get coverage? Call 772-233-4444 or email flood@atlanticinsurance.us and save hundreds on all your insurance needs. That's 772-233-4444, 233-4444 for Atlantic Insurance Advisors. Are you selling your home, wondering how you're ever going to move all your belongings? Well, don't wonder. Call the trusted moving professionals from Mr. Small Move. Their staff of full-time movers are ready to take the stress out of your next move. Mr. Small Move will safely pack, move, then place and assemble your belongings at your new location. So if you're moving, call the trusted professionals at Mr. Small Move. For a free estimate, call 283-5540. That's 772-283-5540 for Mr. Small Move. Dramatic change invites invigorating new energy. Let Decorating Den Interiors create a dramatic change in your home's decor. They'll create a look that's important to you. Begin your home's gorgeous transformation by calling Decorating Den Interiors on the Treasure Coast at 692-8589. Visit their waterfront design studios on Southeast Osceola Street, downtown Stuart, and online at StewartDecorator.com. Every 13 seconds, a home intrusion is committed in the United States, with property loss totals in the billions. Take action today to prevent it from happening to you with ADT, protecting homes and businesses for more than 136 years. Protect Security is your authorized ADT dealer on the Treasure Coast. Call Richard Stratman today at 772-708-2691. Protect Security and ADT, offering peace of mind security 24/7. Call today, Protect Security. 708-2691. Has a recent foreclosure, bankruptcy, or short sale spoiled your credit? Fidelity Funding may be able to help. Their hometown lenders are specially trained to work with your credit history to find the perfect loan program and get you back on track. Even if credit is no problem, Fidelity Funding offers many dynamic loan programs. Call Fidelity Funding on the Treasure Coast at 772-237-5211. They work day in and out with realtors in your community to find you the house you love. Call 237-5211 for Fidelity Funding.
You are listening to WSTU, Stewart, Jensen Beach, Hope Sound, Martin County's Heritage Station.
All right, welcome back to True Radio. That's TREU Radio, loyal radio, the German word. I like that. Say that just kind of all fell right in our laps with that one. I tried to figure that one out. So Treasure Coast Real Estate Unleashed. We're here with Carol Morgan and Farouk Ali, Mr. Scott McAllister, and Andrew Sesta, the other half of our Fantastic Four. Actually at an awards ceremony honoring Jay McAllister, who's going to be hopefully she's going to get it. She's going to get it.
I think so.
Yeah. So, Carol, you had mentioned something and about doing a competitive market analysis.
Right.
And that, briefly explain exactly what that is for our listeners.
Market analysis is basically as you take the homes in the same vicinity as the home that you're marketing.
Okay.
And find out what that house sold for.
Okay.
And you have to you have to back into this thing.
Now, why just what it was sold for?
Well, because if they're on the market for sale, you can price them for anything you want.
Right.
I mean, a good agent will price them to sell.
Right.
But a lot of people don't want that. They
Right.
think their house is worth more than always that it really is.
Right. So it's not
So the
necessarily what
prices
you
are
listed
high.
for.
So sometimes
Yeah.
us as agents, we have to start the pricing a little bit higher than what it normally would be, just to show the sellers that, hey, you're not realistic.
Right.
You know, a lot of times I'll give my sellers 2 to 4 weeks. And if that house doesn't have an offer in on it, or we aren't getting a whole lot of activity on it, you're going to be dropping that price down to where it needs to be dropped at if you really truly want to sell it.
And that's the importance of that CMA, is making sure, because if you
Right.
if you use what a house is listed for versus what it's sold for,
Right.
well, like you said, you could list it for anything you want.
You can list it for anything you want.
But it's what the market bears right now.
It is
What's
only
the market
what the
willing to pay?
market bears. It's what the market sells for is what your real price of your home is.
Right.
And so there are so many variables that you have to put into. I mean, some of these houses are frame homes, some are CBS homes, some
Right.
have pools, some don't have pools. One has more square footage than the other. Some are upgraded, some are not upgraded. So we have to take and compile all of that to figure out what that house really truly is worth. And it does take time.
Yeah.
That's the way we do to make the adjustments
Right.
on our subject property that we do in the CMA on.
Okay.
One of the things that I'm sure Carl must have gone through this too is that a lot of time people they kind of do more rehab than they need to for their own quiet enjoyment.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that a buyer coming in looking at the same property would like the same things that they had liked.
Oh, okay.
you
So,
know?
like, if I got my house and I wanted to put that giant 400 square inch TV,
Well,
that's just not gonna. I'm not gonna be able to get a bunch of money out.
upgrades don't bring value.
And that's what you're talking about.
That's
for
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They don't bring value
no,
at all.
not at all. No.
You can't say, okay, listen, I just spent $40,000 upgrading my house. So therefore, the house that you're comping it down the street is, my house should be worth more than
Right.
$40,000. Sorry, doesn't
Now,
work
it depends
that way.
on what that is, though.
It depends on.
It-
I mean, a pool.
Yeah.
You'll pay. Say you put a pool in, and a pool runs you $40,000 to $50,000. On an appraised value,
Yeah, it's not going to bring that much.
you're only going to get about $15,000 in value.
Wow, that make a difference.
So, if you think you've got that big, I mean, I did this to my house. I put a very nice pool in, and I know that pool won't bring back every bit of money that I put in it, but the rest of it's going to be my pleasure of money.
Of
Yes,
course.
exactly.
So-
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how you have to look at it. So you have to be careful on your upgrades. Certainly upgrades like stainless steel appliances, granite,
Okay.
kitchen cabinetry, and bathrooms. Those are your items that the people who are buying look for.
So they see
Even
the value. They see the
even
value in it.
though most of the time the most expensive part of all of that is kitchen cabinetry.
Okay.
That's your big expense there. But sometimes when we go in a house and somebody has to upgrade a house, it's a matter of just changing out the front of the doors, because there's nothing wrong with the cabinetry. You just put new doors on them, new fronts on them. Makes it look wonderful. Granite today is not as expensive as it used to be. It used to be way out of sight, but because, it's a supply and demand thing, we've got the supply now, and we still have the demand, but the granite prices have come down. Now, the manufacturing is what costs.
Yeah.
That's your costly part. And the stainless steel appliances, you can get low-grade stainless steel appliances to top-grade stainless steel appliances. So there are ways, if you want to make changes in your house, just don't take the top of the line if you think you're going to sell your house,
Exactly.
because you won't get all of that back.
And then one of the things we run into from time to time is that people do upgrades, they do extensions, and they do not get a permit to do it. And now they're ready to sell, and you ask them, this extension that you did you permitted it? And they say, what's a permit? And
Yeah.
then you go into all of that stuff, and then you tell them, well, you know what? This is going to hold your sale up.
I talk
because-
about that a
does.
lot in my other on Cover Time Live. In fact,
Yeah.
next week I have a gentleman, Gus Lopez, is actually going to be on my other show, which folks will hear here on WSTU next week, at next Thursday from 6 to 7. And that's one thing he's going to be talking about. He is a president of the Southern California's Remodelers Association. Plus, he's also part of the National Builders Association, and that's a
Awesome.
huge issue.
It's huge.
And
Yeah.
even in California, but it's the same thing here, is folks and some realtors utilizing unlicensed or
Right.
not doing permitting when you have to make changes.
There are certain things that you don't have to have a permit for. Putting in kitchen cabinets in a house, you don't need to permit that.
Right.
Change electrical, you
Yes.
need to permit it.
And it doesn't hurt for them to just call the building department
Right.
and ask the question.
Right.
Because we had Joel Dramus and those guys from the Port St. Lucie Building Department were at the Keller Williams about a couple years ago, and they talked about that.
I mean, permitting, people think, oh, I can save some money by doing it myself, and I don't want to have to pull a permit to do that. Or you're not really saving money, because
but it can hold the house up, can't it?
Oh, it can hold the house up. I'm dealing with one right now that has $18,000 in code violations on it.
Ouch.
For something that would have been very simple for a $250 permit.
Wow.
Now, we have to clear those out before we can actually transfer the sale on it. And some of the cities are very good in negotiating on it. However, you may have made the changes 5 or 6 years ago when the codes were different than they are today.
Yeah.
And you may have done it then by code standards, but by today's standards, they've changed.
Yeah, and you don't get grandfathered in on
you
something
don't get
you did
grandfathered
illegal.
in.
Yeah.
So now you have to now pull a permit for that change.
Wow, yeah.
And those changes that you did, you have to bring them to today's codes. So in the long run, it really costs you a whole lot more money.
Because now you got to go get an architect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You have to have an architect
You
today.
have to get an architect to do that now. So that's extra money now that you have to spend. So whatever, if you were making any profit on your sale, it's eaten into that now.
It is.
And you think when you do it, you think you're saving a few dollars,
That's
but down
correct.
the road.
You're absolutely
and
right.
you know, and realtors are getting smarter about it. The building departments are getting smart. And some of the stuff is very blatant. You know, if you can't walk through a door, there's probably a good chance that it wasn't permitted. You know, because it's so narrow. I mean, he talked about that. He actually talked about where he walked in and there was a door that was like 20 inches wide. And you already know that somebody didn't permit that.
Well, I got caught in the middle of this when I sold my house here in Lake Tuscany in Florida. When I bought it, at that time, we were not doing code violation searches with our title search. Today we are.
Good.
Today now we are. I mean, I talked to Charles on that, and I said, you know what, I think that's something we need to do.
Good.
So, but I found out that my propane tank had never had a closed-out permit on it. And then I also found out that my pool was encroaching by about 1.5 feet onto the lake property, because you had to stay back so many feet away from the water's edge. Wow, I was like, oh my gosh. I did not know that.
Wow.
So in order for me to sell my house, I had to have, luckily for me, I was able to go ahead and get a hold of the gas company that originally pulled the permit. They came out and cleared it out.
Wonderful.
Because back in the building business, when things got really crazy, they pulled the permits, they were building it, putting them in, just didn't take the time to finalize out. Well, with the gas thing, there was an orifice in there of some sort that had to be changed out by today's code that wasn't code when the house was built in 2006. That wasn't easy. They took care of it, did it fine for me. I got lucky.
Yeah.
Now, the concrete on the pool enclosure, I had to have, where the pool enclosure came out, I had to have that cut off on an angle. That was a little costly.
You had to have it cut.
But I had to have the concrete cut because it was infringing on the waterfront.
Wow.
So it's always, I mean, I learned a hard lesson. I'm in the real estate business. I learned a hard lesson.
Yeah.
So I'm telling all of you out there that are listening, if you're selling, you make sure you ask your agent to please be sure that they check if there's any code violations out there at all. Now, they can do that easy. It's pretty easy to do that. Or if you're in Martin County, anybody can go to Martin County, and for $25, they can run a search. It's a simple search. It's $25. You go to the building department. You get any code enforcement or any open permits that are out there that need to be satisfied, and you don't have to worry about it.
But there's also a way. That a homeowner can check to see if there's anything done on the property that should have been permitted that was never permitted. Is there?
Yes, you can go on the website, the building department's website.
Yeah, and you can look at anything that's ever been permitted. And if you as a homeowner, whether you're going to sell your property or buy a property, if you see something that just maybe looks a little newer, or you go in there and the house is 12 years old and you see that there's an air conditioning system.
Yeah, but you know what? You'll not always find that. I mean,
No, not always,
that's
but there's
not
a
always
starting
the issues.
point.
You'll never, not always. Mine didn't show up by pulling up the tax records and looking to see where the
Well,
permits
you would
were
have
open.
never known with the easement. You would have never known that. I mean, without having a survey done on the house.
Right.
But as far as the propane tank, also that's buried.
But that was
right?
in 2006.
Yeah.
And again, I was not aware because it didn't show that there was an open permit out there.
Yeah.
So
It didn't show.
it did not show.
Wow.
It didn't show until the title company ran
See. Okay.
the code violation search. So just because it doesn't show on the county of having the permit pulled doesn't necessarily
Right.
mean it's not out there.
All right.
That it don't exist. It's similar to with with the size of the properties. You know,
Okay.
sometimes we've seen it a lot on the, I'm sure Carl have, on the appraisal website. You know, you got a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, or a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, and you look at the property records, and it's saying 3-bedroom, 2-bath. You know, and still got the same, you know, same square footage on the
Right.
air, and you know, so
it's a
sometimes
fourth
it may,
bedroom in there
yeah,
now.
yeah, exactly.
That's a code. That's a huge code violation. Huge.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of, but once again, you know, finding a good realtor who knows what they're talking about, like you folks, and making sure they stay up, but also contacting the building department, because I know those guys are just more than eager to want to check to make sure that there's nothing, and you're protecting yourself as,
It
as
is.
a buyer
There's
or seller.
safety issues, and a lot of this all came about. You know, they weren't as stringent back before the hurricane days. They have gotten much more stringent today on following up with all of this and making sure everything is done to code. It only protects us as homeowners.
We
in
get
these
frustrated.
homes.
Some of us get frustrated with it.
We do.
We get frustrated with it, you know, and I know from being on the construction side, I deal with probably 35 different municipalities with my other business, and I deal with hundreds of contractors. And there are some municipalities that are just absolute cakewalk. They're, you know, they take care of things. It's smooth. It's easy to go. But there are some communities and some municipalities that are just an absolute nightmare, and they make it so difficult.
Some just don't want to work with you.
Yeah, it's just that they don't want to. So very, very difficult. But back to the CMA, you know, and I've seen from talking to realtors and yourselves and looking at some other things that, you know, some of these homeowners are so adamant about this is what it's worth, and those market
to show 'em.
analysis are there for a reason. You know,
They are. I don't know about Farouk, but I personally do not do the CMA that comes through the MLS. I do my own homework, just like as if I was an appraiser. I go out and I always take my subject property and I do it, and then I pull the sold comps that have comped and comparable. I don't ever take away from the subject property, but I take away from the comparable properties.
correct.
And by doing that, you get a much fairer adjustment, and you can adjust yourself a little bit easier by doing that, to really honing in on that property, what the value of that property.
Because
really
what
is.
happens? Okay, I want to sell my home, and you bring me, I don't know, a dollar amount that I should put the house for, I don't know, $200,000, and I'm like, no, my house is worth $230, and I'm using this as an example because there was a house that I had listed in Vero Beach, okay, and I did the market analysis, did everything. There wasn't a house that sold in that community for less than $215 or more than $215. Not one house. All right, and some of those were even nicer than what she had. So I made the suggestion. $249 is what she wanted it priced at, and it took over 6 months. And after that 6 months, it was because she ended up dropping it down and sold it for $212.
There you go. See? So,
But how? My question, I guess, would be is how detrimental was that in the beginning? Because don't you get a lot of your viewings as soon as you put it on the market?
Yeah, the first time the property goes on, but there's a problem with that, because what I tend to do, and I'm sure you know other folks does the same thing, is that when you list the property, first of all and foremost, I do not take overpriced listings.
me neither.
When I do the CMA, and there's such a big difference in what the owner is looking to think that a property is worth, and I'm telling you, well, we're making leeway for either up and down in price,
Right.
okay, to arrive at a medium, and they're out of the park. Well, then I walk away. I know there's another realtor is going to go, another agent's going to go in there and take the listing, but one of the things I let them know is that when the property goes on the market, your chances of selling that property is so greater immediately.
Right.
So if you list, for instance, if you list your property, let's take a listing price of $250,000,
Okay.
and the comp is really coming in, let's say $220,
Okay.
and the property is listed at $250. Another realtor that is looking for a property will never, if they have a buyer that is looking for 225, 230 would never had seen that property listed at 250.
Right.
So right away, what happens is that they just missed out on the buyers that can purchase their property if it was listed at the right price.
Right.
So it's their loss. And then guess what happens? Down the road, and when you're ready to correct the price, and you say to them, well, when we first discussed it and I showed you the comps and you decided that, this is what you wanted to do, and you even said, okay, let's try it, and you're going to correct the price like 5 or 10,000 after 2 weeks or weeks, whatever, But you've just lost the opportunity of selling a property 30 days ago.
And even when you reduce it, there's people aren't going to come back and look at it again.
No,
They've already passed
they think
you
something
by.
is wrong with the property.
Yeah.
I mean, it sits there.
Typically, if I'm going to list a property and the house is worth $220, I may list it at $232.5.
Right.
Only because the law of averages says everybody needs to feel that they need to go in to get a deal. If you list it at the price that it's worth, they're going to always come in lower than what the house is worth. So I always do take it up just a little bit, and it's usually a percentage of whatever.
That's why
the
J.C.
value
Penney's
is.
struggled. You remember this situation with J.C.
Right.
Penney's, where
Right.
no, we're going to go to that just one price shopping and look
Right.
at them. They died.
They died.
It's a human nature for us to
You
always
gotta-
want to make a better deal.
Yeah, you got to feel like
Yeah.
you got a deal out
Yeah,
there. But
yeah,
hey, guys,
yeah.
it's not the reality of it.
No, it's not.
So even when I'm shopping for homes for buyers, if they say they only want to purchase up to $220, I still run my search up to $235.
Of course, yes.
And take it a little higher so that I can take them into that next little level, but we can negotiate at that point.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're going to go ahead and take a real quick break here. You're listening to Treasure Coast Real Estate Unleashed. We have Carol Morgan, Farouk Ali in the studio with us today. TrueRadio.com if you'd like to watch us in the studio or go back and listen to any of our shows that we've had in the past, from mortgages to insurance. And we're going to talk about that when we come back, because Farouk was saying that there's some big changes in the insurance business. Treasure Coast Real Estate Unleashed, 772-220-9788. We'll be right back.
Are you selling your home? Wondering how you're ever going to move all your belongings? Well, don't wonder. Call the trusted moving professionals from Mr. Small Move. Their staff of full-time movers are ready to take the stress out of your next move. Mr. Small Move will safely pack, move, then place and assemble your belongings at your new location. So if you're moving, call the trusted professionals at Mr. Small Move. For a free estimate, call 283-5540. That's 772-283-5540 for Mr. Small Move. Every 13 seconds, a home intrusion is committed in the United States, with property loss totals in the billions. Take action today to prevent it from happening to you with ADT, protecting homes and businesses for more than 136 years. Protect Security is your authorized ADT dealer on the Treasure Coast. Call Richard Stratman today at 772-708-2691. Protect Security and ADT, offering peace of mind security 24/7. Call today, Protect Security, 708-2691. Customer service and great rates. That's what you get with Atlantic Insurance Advisors. Remember, everyone's just one torrential downpour away from a flood. And with rates as low as $129 per year, why would you not get coverage? Call 772-233-4444 or email flood@atlanticinsurance.us and save hundreds on all your insurance needs. That's 772-233-4444, 233-4444 for Atlantic Insurance Advisors. Dramatic change invites invigorating new energy. Let Decorating Den Interiors create a dramatic change in your home's decor. They'll create a look that's important to you. Begin your home's gorgeous transformation by calling Decorating Den Interiors on the Treasure Coast at 692-8589. Visit their waterfront design studios on Southeast Osceola Street, downtown Stuart, and online at stewartdecorator.com. Has a recent foreclosure, bankruptcy, or short sale spoiled your credit? Fidelity Funding may be able to help. Their hometown lenders are specially trained to work with your credit history to find the perfect loan program and get you back on track. Even if credit is no problem, Fidelity Funding offers many dynamic loan programs. Call Fidelity Funding on the Treasure Coast at 772-237-5211. They work day in and out with realtors in your community to find you the house you love. Call 237-5211 for Fidelity Funding.
You are listening to WSTU, Stewart, Jupiter, and Indiantown, Martin County's Heritage Station.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Treasure Coast Real Estate Unleashed, True Radio. Remember to go to TrueRadio.com if you missed any part of this show. You can go back and watch and listen. And we're talking about competitive market analysis, talking about the weather up north and how that's driving people down south, or perhaps not driving people down south. But we have Carol Morgan and Farouk Ali with us here in the studio, half of the Fantastic Four. However, live, we have our roving reporter with us this morning, Mr. Scott McAllister. Hey, Scott.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. Hey, how's the beach?
Oh, yeah, right.
How's the awards?
We're actually down here in Dania. Yeah, they're doing regional awards, and we're also having some, just sat through a really great $1 million real estate panel. All these people talking about the great strategies they're using to take their business from $5 million to $15, $20 million a year. And there's a lot of exciting news and information being passed around here.
Any of them have a great radio show like us?
None of them do.
Yes.
But one of the big things they all talk about is standing out and being unique. And I think this is something, that this is what we're doing to make ourselves really stand out and rise above the rest.
Absolutely. So what's the buzz about Mom? And by the way, how's your father?
We don't know. He's in surgery right now, but we're all having him in our thoughts. But we haven't had the award yet, but Jane is up for the Community Service Award. It's called the Eagle Award for Realtor, who helps give back to the community with their company. And we're hoping that she wins it.
And she's very deserving of it as well.
Yes, she is. Works
well,
hard.
and so is, but everyone there, Carol, Farouk, all of them, Andrew, everyone has participated with this. All the people at Keller Williams. So it's an award for all of us too.
Awesome. And we've been talking about competitive market analysis and things like that today on the show. And we're also talking about, now next week, we got a fun show, and I'm going to have a great time with you guys on this one. We're going to be doing buying versus renting on the show next week. So you guys better bring your A game, because I'm going to play the renter. I'm the guy who believes in renting, and I'm going to bring my A game. So I want you guys to, we're going to talk to our listeners and say, well, why would it make sense for me to do one versus the other? What do you think?
I'll do some research. I'll be ready for you. Yeah, I gotta go. It was great talking to you.
All right, Scott.
Enjoy and be safe coming back.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, our fingers crossed. We hope Jane ends up getting that award, and our hearts go out to Mr. McAllister there. Hopefully everything goes fine. That would not be a very good situation. So, Jane and Mr. McAllister, we hope everything goes well, and or you're in our thoughts.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, in our thoughts. So we were talking about market analysis, but now insurance. And you had mentioned something. You're speaking of insurance. There's some changes in flood insurance.
Yeah, with the flood insurance, and maybe Mary Beth, I know she probably can't be on with us today, but another show she can probably come
absolutely. We want to find out about that.
The House have approved the new flood insurance.
They did approve it.
Yes,
okay.
But it's got to go to the Senate now for final
okay.
approval. So we're 50% there. National Association of Realtors are really backing this thing for us. Thank God for RPAC. Our funds that we contribute, to RPAC. It assists us realtors tremendously. What National Association of Realtors does. We're the largest trade organization, over 1 million members.
Yeah, they are the biggest out of anything. Absolutely.
I think the thing that homeowners have to realize, they say realtors. Yeah, what do realtors know? Well, you know what? We help you guys. We help that homeowner out there. When this legislation comes in, if it wouldn't be for your real estate people out there who are really behind keeping things affordable for you as homeowners as far as your insurance, because we know that if they raise that flood insurance up and it gets out of sight, we know it's going to also stop the home market.
Right.
The sales are going to stop and dry down because people don't want to have to pay for that. Well, not only are you going to be paying as a homeowner higher premiums, it makes your prices of your home values decrease. So with your real estate agents out there and your all the lobbyists for the real estate are out there helping protect you as homeowners and us as realtors, it keeps everybody working, your values going up. we're selling homes, you're buying homes. It works well for everybody.
Keeps the
because
economy
it
going,
keeps the
Rob.
economy going.
Of course.
This legislation that they had out there for this flood insurance, it was terrible. I mean, it was terrible. If you were paying $400 a year right now for flood insurance, over the next 4 years, you probably could figure that you would see your flood insurance could run you in the thousands.
Wow. And
If,
that's
at the way it was written. So no more. They're fighting it. They're going to
It's
bite
like
the
paying.
bullet
It's
on
like
that.
paying an auto mortgage.
right.
It is.
Oh, and that's insane. And
craziness.
That's just another tool for our show next
Yes,
week
yeah,
for me.
yeah, of course. Of course.
For sure. I don't know who dreams these at night and dreams these up to make more money, but it does not help the economy.
Somebody somewhere in the political realm that just wanted some extra cash, and somebody was like, well, if you get this going, we'll.
Well, I don't think they think them out straight. I mean, I really think that they dream these up to bring in revenue, but they really don't sit back and think how it affects every aspect of that house, from the seller to the buyer to the real estate agent to
that local community, not just the individual.
and then
the
because
local
of flood
community.
insurance going so high, do you want to throw the house into foreclosure because they can't afford to have it? Now they have a mortgage on the house, so they have to have flood insurance.
Yeah, because if I see a community has a lot of issues with flood and whatnot, obviously all the prices are going to go up, and I'm not going to want to move into that community. I'm going to want to find something. Well, maybe that pushes people out of Florida because we know Florida pretty much is an underground cavern.
It is an underground cavern.
Yeah.
It is of water, and with the Army Corps of Engineers just now going through and redoing all of the FEMA maps again, places that weren't in flood zones now automatically have become in flood zones, and that's got a 2-year moratorium on it. They're looking at researching that out and maybe making them redo it again. Who knows?
Anywhere in Florida, though, from what I've seen, is even if you're not in a flood zone, you're in a flood zone.
Right.
Especially because of the drainage and whatnot. Is even though you're not classified in the flood zone for standing water, some of the areas I lived up in Port St. Lucie, I was not in a flood zone, but
Port St. Lucie got battered.
Yeah, but because you got the little reservoirs that overflow and the drains overflow. Well, then from there it just backs up. That's not a natural occurrence. And then what happens? Now you're just everything in your garage gets ruined.
Well, they've run these overflows off for the water to run into them. However, once it goes there, they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So then that water overflows. So they never took time to put the proper drainage in, the pipes and the drain fields to suck that water all out to keep it from backing up into the homes and into the streets. And that's what happened with Port St. Lucie. They now are doing that, which is great. So hopefully in time that will all correct itself. But even where I live here in Martin County, we have drains in ours. We have lakes, man-made lakes around our area that takes that water overflow. But sometimes when that water gets so high, it's got to go somewhere. So when we see these rains coming down, you've got all this water rushing down. The day that we had the 18 inches of rain here, it was just like, oh my God.
Now that information that we were talking about on the break, was that anything like double secret probation confidential that you found out, or was that in the news or in the newspaper?
Oh no, that was on the newspaper. The newspaper this morning. Costco's coming to Martin County.
Yeah, we got a couple minutes left. But
I'm excited.
I mean, Costco's coming to Martin County.
Costco is coming. I have been waiting for this day for Costco. I love Costco.
Now, when will we find out if it's actually going to happen?
There's a meeting coming up right now, and the public is invited to come to that public meeting. So I'm hoping that people will realize in this county that it's very important we have this growth. I came from a little town in Brighton, Michigan that was much smaller than Martin, or much smaller than Stewart, actually, or Palm City. And they put a Costco in there, and you should see what it has done for the economy of that town. It's amazing. So I'm excited. I think that the growth will help us grow more here. It'll bring more people in to buy into the area.
Oh yeah, I think it'd be perfect,
right
especially
now
with the bridges.
We have a couple grocery stores that control everything in this area, so it'll put a little bit more competition in for everybody.
Yeah.
And
I
think it's exciting.
I've never been to a Costco's.
Really?
Oh, wonderful.
Never. I know there's one all the way down south.
I drive down to North Beach or to North Lake.
I've never. I mean, I've walked into a BJ's and a Sam's Club, but I've never walked into a Costco's. I've actually watched the business story of Costco's.
Oh, the business story. If nobody's ever seen it, you should go online to watch it. It is amazing. Yeah,
I love how that got started, and I tell you, it's just amazing how some people just have that intuition and that knack and that business savvy to do stuff like that. It's It's incredible.
I just want to quickly mention that I was just reading an article from National Association of Realtors that the 10 top cities, Port St. Lucie is number 7 out of the 10 top cities in growth. Their growth have been a little over 6%, and they're at number 7. It's unbelievable. The market is picking up.
And supposedly the most desirable in the United States. So.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
And that's because the home prices are affordable and people are buying there.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening to Treasure Coast Real Estate Unleashed, True Radio, with Carol Morgan, Farouk Ali, and Scott McAllister, Andrew Sister, at an award ceremony. And as always, we're going to end our show with a Zig Ziglar quote. Failure is a detour, not a dead-end street.
That's right.
So keep pushing, and just when you think you may be done, just keep digging an extra inch or two, and you're going to find success.
Of course, a golden nugget.
That's it. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom.
You guys have a great week.
Mike,
too,
thank
Tom.
you very
Thanks,
much.
Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mike, the man behind the scenes. Treasure Coast Real Estate Unleashed. We'll see you next Thursday morning.